Okay. Alright. Here we are. Hello and welcome everyone to Gamestate episode 11. 1 second. Oh god, that's horrific. What have I done? Okay. Moving right along. Sorry.
I don't know.
It is Monday, October the 1st, I believe. Welcome to Gamestate episode 11. I have now muted the stream so you don't get a horrific echo loop. We are here on schedule. We will be talking largely about the Return to Ravnica pre-release, as that is effectively the only thing which happened in the Magic the Gathering universe this past weekend. Cedric is currently not with us, but will be joining us shortly. So for those of you who pine for Cedric, he will be with us momentarily. But without any further ado, I am your host, Adam, a winner is you, Ragsdale, and with me are Glenn Jones, event coverage coordinator for Star City Games.
Hi. Hello.
Stephen Flaval, poker pro and magic enthusiast.
Hey guys.
And the soon-to-be joining us, Cedric Phillips, who you can just imagine saying something loudly and rambunctiously here.
Hi.
Yeah, that'll do.
I think that's right. Something like that.
So we're gonna start off with the Return to Ravnica pre-releases, which at the current moment we can say that 66% of our cast attended. It may go down slightly later in the show, but currently 2 out of 3 of us were there battling it up with our chosen guilds. It was, as I understand it, a very popular pre-release to no one's surprise, and featured rather interesting and unique mechanics for a pre-release. You got to pick your own guild, which decided some of the cards you got, what sort of pretty box you got, and largely how you built your sealed deck. So the first thing we're going to talk about, I think, is the guild choice selection, how it affected the tournament in general, and what you guys thought it did to sealed. We will start with Steven, I guess, and then we will move to Glenn.
Well, I think it's a wonderful idea, Adam, and it really improved my enjoyment of the pre-release weekend overall.
Okay.
Let's go to Glenn.
Yeah, I like the idea just as a marketeer or marketer myself. It was clearly like pretty smart. Everyone likes to self-identify, and being able to like pick the kind of magic you wanted to play is like a pretty cool selling point to a lot of the casual market players, because they already do all of their magic based on specifically what kind of magic they want to play. So in that way, it basically worked well as a way to just make it more individualized. I didn't think there were a lot of problems with it. The only issue, which cropped up really badly for me in my second sealed, is like in a normal sealed pool, like a weak sealed pool is like not that much fun in and of itself. You just have like a bunch of bad cards, and your opponents play like, you know, a single rare or maybe 2 rares, and you just get completely creamed, and it's kind of demoralizing. But in this one, if your like 5 packs were kind of bad, and didn't, especially if they didn't support the pack that your guild pack came with, then you basically just got a pack of blanks, which like definitely happened in my second one. Like I went Rakdos for my second one, and I had like, I think the best Rakdos card I opened in my actual packs was a 4-mana 5/2 with a story to tell, as they say.
Had flavor text for days.
Now, I did get 2 of them, so that was nice.
Oh.
But yeah, that
one
one was like abysmal. I varied between siding into like an Izzet deck that boarded black, and then like a really bad black-red control deck with like 7 guys that have Unleash. Hint, guys with Unleash generally not good at blocking. Regardless of whether you unleash them or not, they are not good at it. So yeah, that was the only actual issue with it. Otherwise, like pre-releases are built for the kind of a fun factor anyway, and I think this really amplified it. It's like the best variant pre-release idea, right? Like I can't think of any of the other ones being better. Can anyone else? Like,
No, I think
Innistrad and Miriam Siege and all those, weren't they just like kind of meh?
I think this was the most interesting of the pre-release mechanics. I was very happy to play in it. I thought it was like neat to try and figure out, and also encouraged you to play like neat games of Magic that you would enjoy. I think it's a really good thing to have at a pre-release, and not a really good thing to have like all the time.
Yeah.
So I think we just got to experience the best of it. I saw like there were a couple sort of incidental downsides which were not universal, but happened at the pre-release I happened to be at. Like for example, I did not, like, when I went to the pre-release, they didn't say, there are 5 guilds, which one would you like? You can have any of them. They said, oh, well, you'd like Azorius? Well, we don't have any of those. You can have, like, one of these, or we would prefer you take Rakdos because no one else wants it. And that's not, like, the implementation that I would prefer.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously it's a little bit awkward to have to ship 5 different products to the retailers and have them, like, have all of them in stock and what have you. Because what
I
if...
feel like that might have been like a store side error. Like I think like I didn't have that problem at all, and it kind of depends on your store also. Like I know I heard people who weren't ordering out like all of their allotment for Return to Ravnica, which just seems silly in my mind. Like if you're in the business of buying something for like however much booster boxes you get from your distributor for. Obviously, I don't want to like say that price specifically for random reasons. But like, if that's your business, buying it at one price and selling it at a price that is like $20 to $30 higher or more in the case of RTR, I don't know why you wouldn't just do that every single time when you're talking about getting like an extra 20 on top with booster boxes going for like 130 now. Like that's just crazy to me. If I'm buying booster boxes at wholesale prices, like I'm buying every single RTR box they'll let me buy until I have no more money. That is the only like limiting factor I can think of. So.
Which will never happen. You'll just have infinite money.
Huh?
You'll just have infinite money.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll have just strictly more, right? Like,
right.
It's not hard to flip right now either. And those guild pack things too. Like I know the first one of those that like actually hit eBay went for like multiple hundreds, I think, like $200 something.
Wow.
And they're definitely going to hold value. Like the Mirrodin Besiege and New Phyrexia packs were also actually like pretty good value that no one knew about like afterwards because of the way like the affiliation worked. It made it like there were higher odds you would hit like Hero Bladehold and Tezzeret or stuff like that out of those packs than normal. So the packs actually held like surprisingly good prices if you knew that they were worth money. Otherwise, you just got rid of them and nobody knew anything about them. So I think that same thing will probably happen with these. Like I think they're definitely valuable. I heard about stores trying to buy other stores' spare ones so that they could like give their players the packs they needed, which was kind of bizarre. But I also think that's just probably like a failure of their own to buy out the correct allotment, most likely.
Obviously, things are going to happen due to the fact that events are run by human beings, and human beings are notoriously bad at effectively everything. I know that the event that I went to, there was an issue with like the physical truck that transported the product to the store, which is not really something I expect the store to have control over. I know, Glenn, you mentioned that you thought the guild sealed pools had a chance to be weaker and or less fun than like the average sealed pool because you pick like red-black and your packs are like, no, screw you, you can't play red-black, and then your deck doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Do you think the average pool is stronger with the guild pack or weaker like than it would be with just a 6th pack?
That's actually like pretty hard to say. I'd probably say it's better. Like just generally it's probably better because you can that extra pack that's like focused and also always having a guild gate is actually kind of a big deal. So I'd say by and large your decks are probably going to be better, although just the bad decks are much worse. Like that's the biggest issue.
My favorite thing about this pre-release mechanic is that it adds a little bit of constructed to an otherwise limited format. Like,
yep.
A lot of the allure to a casual constructed player, I think, is getting to play the sort of deck that they like. And if you show up to a pre-release, you don't always get to do that. When you're getting the guild pack, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can play my Rakdos deck, cool. I think that's my favorite thing about it.
So my big picture follow-up to this is, if you like this gimmick, and I think universally we were in agreement that it was a pretty neat gimmick and it was fun times for most of the people involved, do you want to see a gimmick at every pre-release, but a new and different one, or a similar one, or what do you want to see going forward? Let's start with Glenn, I guess.
I don't mind new gimmicks. I mean, obviously this is the same one that we'll see for Gate Crash. I'm not sure what they'll do for the 3rd set. They could do the same thing with all 10, or they might do something completely different. I don't know. I like that they're trying new things. I think pre-releases are an excellent ground for it. It's just like solid branding, and it makes the experience more fun. Even for a person like me, like I found it interesting, even though my pool was bad, I was like, oh, well, this is kind of interesting how this dynamic emerged that normally can't happen. So it's kind of just a neat variation on play. Like I play a lot of weird formats, so this sort of just became another one of those. Like I play Metal Magic or Type 4 or Commander or whatever, and then I play this instead of like a normal sealed, which we'll be playing plenty of normal sealed, so it's not that big a deal. I just want to like learn some of the new cards and have an interesting experience. Plus, you get a sticker.
That is a sticker. It's not a temporary tattoo.
Yeah, you got a sticker, but the most important part of the guild box was clearly this, which I don't know if you guys can see, but this is a letter from the guild leader to myself personally, talking about the virtues of the.
Does it actually say to Adam Ragsdale?
No, it wasn't.
Yet.
It wasn't personally addressed, but I think one can assume that.
All right.
Anyway, it was
Fair
talking
enough.
about the virtues of the world soul and all that, because this was from a Selesnya box. But did we get your take on gimmicks, Steven? Do you want more gimmicks? All gimmicks all the time?
I actually don't think that the pre-release is a great place to put gimmicks, but I think gimmicks are awesome and they should be like on the Pro Tour. So maybe that's an unusual take on things. But my opinion of pre-releases is that you're getting tons of new cards and there's plenty of new stuff to be excited about. It's a new format, etc. Whereas on the Pro Tour, you're like playing a big tournament in a format that you may have seen every weekend for the last 3 months, which could potentially be a little bit dry. So for me, it's more exciting to see like the pros compete in a new format where they're breaking fresh ground, and at a pre-release, we just, we don't need the gimmicks, I don't think.
You think that at a pre-release, perhaps people are struggling to evaluate correctly all of the cards? You think there might be some suboptimal things going on even without the gimmicks? Is that what you're saying?
Perhaps. I definitely have to read the cards at the pre-release.
That is a bold stance, sir.
Yeah.
I didn't even learn until the pre-release that populate was only one token that you control. I thought you just like doubled your tokens.
So the second populate is way better than the first one.
Yeah. Like the best part was round 1, I got paired against someone who did it correctly, and I like tried to correct him into cheating me. He was like, no, that's not how the card works. And like I reread it, I'm like, oh, okay. And then the next round, the guy thinks it works the way I thought it worked. And it's just like, man, I'm really glad that first guy didn't scum me, because that second guy would have done it if he hadn't corrected me. Like, woo.
All right. My next question is somewhat related to gimmicks. I want to know how much equity you think you gained or lost from your guild choice in the pre-release. Like, how big was the swing if you chose the worst guild to if you chose the best guild?
It's such like an Adam Ragsdale approach to pre-release.
Yep, that's how I roll.
The equity of this pre-release.
I don't know.
It's
I thought
my
it was
approach too,
like
in
that's
fairness.
why I thought it was an interesting gimmick, because even if it's like not balanced at all, it's only going to come up once, and even if your entire drive is how to win, you get this interesting question where it's like, well, I don't know, how do I win? Like, what's the best thing to pick? How do I build this thing? And then, either you win or you don't win, and you learn something, and then you go home.
Yeah, to me, I've actually thought about this myself a fair amount, and I think it would be very interesting to play formats like this with more of a paper, scissors, rock feel to them. But I'm not sure how much Return to Ravnica single set limited has that metagame going on. Where like if Azorius was beating Rakdos and Rakdos was beating Selesnya, probably is the other way around, if anything. But if there was some sort of metagame set up like that, and you went into a tournament thinking about which pack to pick based on that sort of stuff, and like what do you think your opponents will be doing, and like this matchup's pretty bad on average, but I can play myself out of it maybe, that'd be really interesting to me. But when it's in brand new format and we don't know like which colors tend to do well against which other colors, or even necessarily which color is best, I feel like it's a little less interesting. It's much more about just like casual self-identification with the guild. So in answer to your question, 5%.
All right, solid, good.
You guys are such the minority for this particular brand of marketing. You're like tournament schema.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
We are not the target audience.
Like, the minority of the minority that they considered when doing it. Like, oh, you know, there's this 5% of player who won't like it. You guys are in like 1% of the 5% or something.
I don't think we're even considered, because like if you look at top level marketing, as I understand it, for almost any game, the tournament level players are just not even really considered at all when they're talking about marketing their cards and like what people like and what people don't like, because they just don't they don't have a significant effect on the product being purchased.
Right.
That's my understanding. And I'm not like objecting to that and saying it's wrong, but it's how I enjoy thinking about the game. So
I mean, that's fair. Whatever's your jam, man.
yeah. Do you think it mattered? Like, do you think you could pick any random box?
I think that I could pick any random box that would not significantly have affected my equity in the tournament that I was playing in.
That was my thought.
Like, the people I'm playing against are by and large going to make like all the same kinds of errors regardless of what they pick and regardless of what I pick. Like, I guess maybe the guild with like the most instants is slightly better than like the other guilds, just because they won't know any of them and you just kill them when you play when they're not expecting, like something like that. Intuitive Giant, double Rakdos has the most equity by far and away. So if you didn't pick that, you were just being silly. But otherwise,
now we're talking about the pre-release two-headed giant equity.
yes. Well, I messed up because
my
first instinct was Selesnya. I was like, oh, you know, you just have a nutty Selesnya deck, and you'll make like multiple 8/8 vigilant creatures, and there are like ways to make them unblockable or evasion. So like you put like spectral flights in the other deck, and then the first deck's making 8/8 tokens with its lands. And you're like, oh, this seems very easy game. But no, actually, the Rakdos deck with the Blightning that hits both opponents and all the cards that make both opponents lose life.
That's fair.
Slightly better. Slightly better with that card common.
Alright, that seems reasonable. So I want to talk a little bit...
Do you blame Wizards for this oversight on the balance?
They destroyed the metagame.
Yeah, it's gone.
Oh.
Alright.
I want to talk a little bit about the actual decks and possibly the actual magic that occurred at this pre-release, and not just guild choices and how you approach the tournament to get maximum value out of your pre-release, because we all know that's the number one concern. But I felt like that the pool that I opened was very atypical for Selesnya pools. I don't know if this is actually the case. I opened a pool that like had 1,000,000 bomb rares in my colors, but a terrible mana curve. So I was like very afraid of people playing Grizzly Bears and attacking me, and like having a combat trick or a removal spell backing that up. And I didn't feel like the average green-white sealed deck was probably going to feel that way. I don't know if... I know, Glenn, you played more than I did. Is that accurate? Like, it seems like people would have Hill Giants at some point, and I just didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I found that creature sizes, like 3 was kind of like an okay number, not great. It was weird. A lot of creatures have 2 power, so 3 toughness is really good, but 3 power wasn't that big a deal. But 4 toughness is obviously better than 3 power, and that mattered because there are spells that like the 3 damage incinerate things. So I don't know. I felt there was a lot of synergy in the guilds. I know a lot of people think Izzet's bad right now. I don't think Izzet is the worst of the guilds. I think it's the most difficult to build an Izzet deck, because I think that most of those decks function as something of an engine. From what I've seen, like I actually think my roommate Forrest in the first 3v3 that we did when we came back actually wound up drafting like a 4-color Izzet deck with a bunch of Electromancers, and he's just trying to like get a bunch of value off of cheap gold cards basically, with the counterspells and all that stuff, and it worked pretty well for me. 3-0'd the pod. So I think that that's my thing on Izzet, is that like people are misevaluating it specifically, but.
All right.
So this is another Pillar Field Ox format.
I don't like blocking though. I really like attacking. I think attacking is way better.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah. So, all the best decks that I've had, I've just like tried to red zone them every time. I will say I think like 6-drop creatures are kind of poor, but 6-drop spells are a lot better. Because I've found that like if you pay 6 mana for a creature that doesn't like do a fair bit to the board, they just deal with it relatively efficiently and then kill you that turn. So that's kind of awkward. Like that 6-mana 3/3 flyer, Asperius Skyguard, I think, with Detain is okay. But like when I was in the pre-release with Niv Mizzet, like I just never wanted to cast him because I was pretty sure I would die if I did, because there's a common 5 damage burn spell for 6 that will just kill him, and then they can attack me for lethal. So he doesn't block that well if he's dead. And then there's like the 6-mana exile guy populate thing, and that's pretty bad for him too. So stuff like that makes the larger bombier creatures that don't like immediately change the board a lot worse.
Well, you'll be pleased to hear that I was able to very convincingly die to a Niv Mizzet.
Oh,
Yes.
wonderful.
He killed it. Well, he Mizium mortared my entire team the previous turn, and I was just like, oh, very good then. And then he played the thing, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, move along. But yeah, I was able to find my death at the hands of various dragons, so the dragons are not entirely
No.
unable to kill people.
You definitely
They're
will
all-
be
they're
playing
all right.
dragons.
Yeah, they're okay.
Dragon's
just,
still okay.
Just gotta be a little careful with it, and you have to build your deck to like be able to stay on like a pretty good life total as you're building to that point. So it's kind of easy to get burned out. Like I said, that 5 damage thing isn't common, so you can very easily die to it. The 0/4 wall that's tapped, like each opponent loses a life. In addition to its 2-headed giant functionalities, it's also like actually pretty good just in the format. It's an 0/4, so it blocks most creatures that are coming through on the ground. And if you're stacking a couple of gold cards into your deck, like especially some of the cheaper ones, like the hybrid blue-red 1/4 guy, Frostburn something, Frostburn Weird, that makes the Lobber Claw like just really good. He'll deal a bunch of damage over the course of the game while saving you a bunch of life, and you gotta watch out for that kind of thing.
Is this like Stinging Barrier sort of power level? If we can go back many years in time.
This card's like it only got better as I played with it. Like I was just more and more impressed, and it killed me in a 3v3. It was like the only reason I lost a match. So it's definitely like a
Pretty
better
high
card
praise,
than
man.
most 3-mana 0/4s seem to be. So
This
Yeah.
is Lobber Crew. Is that the card in question?
yes, Lava Crew, right?
I believe it throws things at you, rocks or bombs or something like
I
that.
believe that is the flavor of it. Yes.
Yeah. Good.
I think it's a goblin even, or creature type goblin.
Yes, I think so. I had the opportunity to play against one of those cards at the pre-release. Yeah, I don't know. I had an okay time at the pre-release. How was your time? I think your time was maybe better than mine. What was your experience of the pre-release overall? What would you rate it out of 10, Glenn?
I enjoyed the card playing that I was doing and
Okay.
the time spent with friends. But the actual like environment was kind of miserable. It was Florida. The AC was broken in the store where it's like consistently breaks every time. So it makes me wonder if they ever actually fix it or if there's just less people during the other times. And tournament was run okay, so nothing too bad about that. But the prize support was a little meh, but I think that was a problem a lot of people had. But overall, like it was a fun experience. I will likely be looking for a place to do the Gatecrash one, although I will 100% not be doing it there again. So I guess take that for whatever it means.
Okay.
Hey, yeah.
See if we can do it up here.
I'm encroaching.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it
So
going?
it's considering loading.
I mean, besides the speeding
Oh,
ticket,
there you are.
besides the speeding ticket I just got, things are good.
Ooh.
How is your? Do you have any wisdom to dispense on the Return to Ravnica pre-release before we move on?
I have literal. You guys are going to be dispensing the wisdom on that. You guys are the wisdom dispensers. All of the pre-reads in Seattle were sold out very early, so I actually just couldn't play in any.
I just checked. Does everyone else see like Cedric kind of glowing a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm glossy.
Okay.
Is kind of what's going on. Not entirely sure why that is, but I'm a human being. I don't know why this is happening.
All right.
But
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't a prophet or something, and
it's cloudy
this
in
was
here.
A sign to be
There's a
paid.
lot of fog in my room. I have a fog machine. But yeah, I didn't get to play in one, and then we tried to organize an 8-man draft yesterday in Seattle. That fell through, so I'm coming to you guys. Like Glenn, I know you played. Adam, you played too, right?
I did, yes. I have
Can't
my.
believe you played Real Life Magic.
Yeah, look at I got
Oh
this.
my God, you
Ye-
have product?
Well, sort of.
Adam
That's
actually
a
owns
bit of a
Magic
story,
cards now.
but yeah.
Holy shit! Dude, where is Adam? And what did you do with Adam?
Hey,
Oh,
I
Glenn,
I
Glenn, you stole the
occasionally
pack. She didn't win those.
I occasionally go to events and then don't play. That's very much within my range.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm already.
So yeah,
getting
I'm leaning on Glenn Jones and his beautiful beard, and Adam and your derpal to tell me what's good. So
I can't really tell you what's good because I just opened a million rares and then like hoped my opponents had no curve, and then I like cast them on turn 7, and they were like, "Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's good too. Oh, goodness."
Like, what rares did you have?
Oh, I had the guild leader, like the 4-mana 2/5 that's like completely unbeatable if they don't have a removal spell. Like
The
the
green, white one?
yeah. And I
Yeah, that
also
card's
had the
retarded.
7-mana angel that like triple oblivion rings.
That card's retarded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I also had the overrun enchantment. So like if it got to
LOL.
turn 7, like I actually couldn't lose, but I
Yeah.
couldn't beat a grizzly bear like ever because I
Oh,
had
sure.
like 3 playable cards that cost 3 or less.
That
So
enchantment's incredible.
well, yeah, I mean, obviously, Overrun that doesn't leave is like a pretty good Magic card.
Oh, that's good? Why is
Yeah.
that good? Explain it to me. Well, nicely
I
done,
played
Adam.
like
Nicely
multiple
done.
games where I thought I was like doing fine and even like pretty far ahead, and then someone's just like that, and then like 3 turns later I'm dead. I'm like, come on, man, come on.
Come on, guy. I mean, you can
Maybe
you can
get-
disenchant it. Disenchant, man.
That disenchant tutu is actually like there are a number of pretty good enchantments. I think the disenchant tutu is pretty good and even arguably better than the 2/1 detain guy, like in a number of decks. As weird as that sounds.
So detain is like super good, right?
Detain's sweet, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Being a 2/1 is pretty miserable, but being able to detain things in general is very, very good.
Okay, I had a feeling that that was a sweet ability, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it was interesting because that was one of the abilities that I felt like I had no ability to evaluate it in the abstract because I never played with anything that did anything like that. And my opponent played the 2/1 against me on like in round 3 or round 4, and it took me exactly 1 card with detain to be like, "Oh, that seems absurd." Like
Yeah, sure.
he played the 2/1 on like turn 4, and I was like, "So I can't block this turn and I can't attack next turn?" Yeah, that seems like it's pretty good. I'm down with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems like a sick limited ability. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a good constructed ability either.
I expect some of them to see it. I think that the 3/1 for 3 with flying is good enough because it comes down the turn before Restoration Angel and is really aggressive. So
Oh, yeah, that's actually true.
Sky Knight something or other, I think. I don't know.
So what did we miss? I was trying to listen to it on my phone, and I listened in the chat. I chatted a little bit while I was stuck in traffic.
Yeah, we talked a lot about like the
2-headed giant
guild.
metagames.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
2-headed
we
giant
had
just
a
nonstop.
discussion of the
We
ways-
talked about like guild choice and what it meant, and if it was a fun gimmick, and should we like do more gimmicks at the pre-release, and guilds
Is our
and
Is our
stuff like that.
consensus yes?
We like gimmicks. We were okay with this gimmick. I don't think we had any suggestions for more gimmicks.
Nah.
I think gimmicks are good for store pre-re's. I think those are sweet, actually.
Oh, Steven was like, gimmicks at pre-re's, gimmicks at Pro Tours, So you can, how do you feel about
Yeah,
that?
Matt.
You want gimmicks
no.
at, no?
There is a gimmick at this Pro Tour. It's called Beat Scape Shift. Yay, what a gimmick. Yay, that's going to be so much fun, Steven.
You get
I don't think that's gonna be difficult.
your gimmicks at the banned and restricted announcement? That sounds like a fun
Yeah.
gimmick.
Here's a gimmick. Tear up all the Valakuts you can. Yay. It's not fun at all. I like gimmicks at pre-re's, though. I think that'll be I think that's cool. This is like one of the pre-re's I really wanted to go to that I didn't get to go to. There was also like the 2 Magic Online PTQs I wanted to play in. So I did get to play in those and not win them, obviously. But these pre-re's seem sweet. And literally every person I've talked to said that this set is sweet. I
Yeah,
haven't heard a
it's-
bad thing about it.
I don't think bad.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I've heard some different approaches. I did a set review on my individual stream with Phil Sams, and he was really excited about Axebane Stag, which is like not where I would have gone personally with this set, but man just wants to cast Scaled Worm, so
Yeah, I don't
Man,
like that card very
there's
much at all.
something for everyone in this set. Apparently.
I did hear, boy, I'm looking at the picture of Axebane Stag right now. Come on, Phil Sams. All it has is a story to tell. It doesn't do anything else. I heard that some of the rares are a little gross. Like, because we're used to M13 where like all the rares are pretty much beatable. Or at least like have answers at common and uncommon. Whereas now I heard like the rares, like the 2/5 for green, white, that card seems like
Yeah.
bonkers.
I did in fact get to tap 3 mana, put an 8/8 into play, and gain 8 life at the pre-release. And
Oh.
my opponent, who was also playing green white, was not particularly appreciative of this ability. So
And then
Yeah.
you got to check off the Game 3 Life in One
Oh
Turn
yes, yes,
achievement.
that was on my achievement card, which is also came in
There
the
are
box.
achievements?
Yeah.
That's a gimmick that I like. I like that gimmick a lot. I
Would
feel
you
like
like-
you could play like achievement bingo, and then the first person to get the
Yeah.
bingo gets like an extra prize.
Would you like
Maybe
me to
just recognition.
read you some Selesnya achievements, Cedric? Because you seem like
Yes,
this is
I'm
okay.
dying to know. I literally know nothing about the pre-read. This is so awesome.
All right. Well, number 1 on the list is attack with 2 or more creatures and exclaim for the conclave. And that's with an exclamation point, by the way.
You
Okay,
have to have
that's
two.
And
in my wheelhouse. Okay.
Yeah. Then we have some other things such as cast or destroy a legendary creature, deal damage to an opponent with a key rune of any guild, gain 3 or more life in 1 turn, and some other non-game related stuff like attend a guild meeting with other Selesnya members.
I refuse to do that.
So
I won't do that.
Are there other Selesnya members? It may just be the people who couldn't get Azorius.
I don't know. People seem genuinely excited to get all 5 guilds at the pre-release I was at.
Alright, that's fair.
So yeah, I think there were other people doing other things. Like I said, I don't feel like I came from a super good place because my seal deck just really wanted mono pillar field ox, which is probably not like what everyone else wanted, and it's only because I just had like a million 6-drops that could never lose if I got there.
Yeah.
One card that I was expecting to be unbelievably sweet was Common Bond, which is 1 white green, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature twice.
Mhm.
And it
Twice,
was,
yeah.
in fact, very bad in my deck, but I still expect that card is, like, pretty good in most
I think so.
decks.
That card reminds me a little bit of Seas of Strength.
Yeah.
From back in the day. Obviously not the same card, but
Yeah.
I expected Seas of Strength. Seas of Strength was pretty good if I remember correctly. I don't think it was
That was
great, but it was
like-
a good trick.
Green, white, instant, +1/+1 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
on
were all...
different creatures.
Or you
Worth
could do it to the
noting
same
on-
one.
Yeah.
Worth noting on Common Bond is that your opponent cannot leave Unleash guys back to try and block lethal if you have that card.
Ooh. I didn't
Oh, you
think
can
of
put
that.
it on there, guys?
That's
Ooh.
cunning.
Glenn
That is
Jones.
That's kind of awkward. I haven't gotten to do it to anyone
You
yet.
gotta
But I've already
write
thought
that
about
one
it.
down.
I've been facing down or like had it in my hand. I was like, man, is there some weird combat situation where I get to like, do this to somebody? No. Oh well, just give my guy +2/+2 attack.
Dude, that is awesome. I
Yeah,
like
So
that.
it's like, is Selesnya then the natural counter to Rakdos?
I mean, I don't know about that. Like they have a bunch of ways to gain life, so that just automatically makes it pretty good. And like 3/3, the 3/3 for 3 that gains 3 life is like backbreaking against them. Generally speaking, like only the 3/3 first strike Unleash guy, or I should say 2/2 becomes a 3/3 with Unleash, can actually like match wits with him, as it were, very well. So yeah, like
You have a slightly different interpretation of creature combat than I do. That's not my impression of what's going on when they fight each other, that it's a wit matching debate. But can you punch? I'm gonna attempt to punch that guy. Well, only if you answer my riddles 3, sir. Yeah, I had 2 of those centaurs. They were like probably the best cards in my entire deck. If it wasn't those, it was the 0/2 that got a land for 2 mana. I don't know what he's called. He's a wall and he finds a
Thing
gate
searches
or a
for-
basic.
Searches for a gate. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that guy's okay.
I needed him because I needed to make all the land drops. So that was my experience.
It's Unleash, sweet. I'm a
It's
little
tough to play.
skeptical.
I think Unleash is like probably one of the hardest mechanics to actually play with.
Okay.
That's cool. It's cool to see an aggro mechanic, which is difficult. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it
Like-
seems very hard to use correctly.
Yeah, every time I used a guy, like I thought a lot about whether I should unleash it or not, and then afterwards, like the next turn, I'd be like, "Man, I probably did that wrong." Like, I just got it wrong almost every time. It felt, but
My impression of Populate was that it was not super difficult. Mostly I chose to get a token, and occasionally there were 2 tokens, and I had to choose which one. But normally, like, one was an 8/8, so...
yeah,
So you chose the
So
better one.
Didn't need another one at the 8/8? Is that what we're saying?
I was up to 3 8/8s at one point.
Oh,
So,
you're a real tough guy.
yes. I was very close to losing that game. That was a game where I had to draw 4 cards in a row. Like, I had to hit quadra runners to win that game. We were...
To
Did
be
we get
fair-
there?
Yeah, I did.
Did
It was
you,
very weird.
Are you going to complain about the Moto Shuffler now? Because
Yeah.
that just wouldn't happen on Magic Online.
No, never on Magic Online.
Never.
Not once.
I've heard some rumors via the Twitter and the Google and the Facebook that Stab Wound is ridiculously good. Can anyone confirm or deny these reports?
Adam has a good stat.
my experience with Stab Wound is that someone played it against me, and I was dead on. Oh, sorry. Stab Wound is 2 and a black for a creature enchantment that gives the enchanted creature -2/-2, and at the beginning of enchanted creature's upkeep, its controller loses 2 life. I believe is what
Okay.
Stab Wound does. But yeah,
That's correct.
it's good. I played against a Golgari gentleman who had 4 of them in his deck. He actually told me after the match. And he was able to place one on one of my creatures while I was at 1 life, which would effectively kill me. But then he elected to attack me with 2 creatures, so I blocked and killed him very easily, which is
Oh,
sort of standard pre-release mumbo
Yeah.
jumbo. But yeah, I think Stab Wound is very good. It was fairly good against me. It wasn't like super good because most of my creatures were like just a bird token or something. So killing one was like yeah. But I mean, it was a fine card.
okay.
I think it's good at punishing a number of cards that are otherwise like pretty strong. Like the 2/2 Unleash First Striker guy. It punishes him. The 0/4 wall that pings you punishes him. The 2/3 flyer for 3 in white. 1 white. It punishes that card pretty well. Like these are all cards that are normally like actually very good and kind of tough to deal with. And it not only like basically neutralizes them, but also does it in a way that's really, really bad for the opponents. So
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. I do think people weren't playing enough ways to defend themselves from it, just in general. Like I think Dramatic Rescue, the Azorius bounce spell for white-blue that gains 2 life, is just like a really good card, and you should be playing like most of them most of the time, and it like saves your guy. So that's fine.
Like, were people not playing that card? Because it
Yeah,
seems like a
like,
very
every time
obviously
People
playable
would
card
sideboard
to
it.
me.
I was just confused. It's like, yeah, it's not like the most efficient bounce spell, but it's obviously like, pretty strong. Mizium Skins is very good also, which I like that card a lot.
That is
Hexproof,
the
that
one.
that overloads.
Yes, the one with the picture of the grinning golden goblin on
Oh,
it,
yeah.
correct? Yeah, that is the goblin in question,
think I
sir.
nailed
Yes.
I think
Ooh,
I
that
know.
picture's sweet.
That was
That
the
picture's
photograph that they sent the artist for concept art.
Yeah.
That card seems pretty close to Sulfuric Vortex plus take a creature out of consideration. That card just seems absolute insanity. Except
Well,
you don't lose life.
It's like
Well,
I think
the creature becomes kind of unblockable a lot of the time, so you might lose some life. Depends
Yeah.
how big the guy is.
Gotta
Yeah.
play your 0/4 walls, man.
it's
Yeah,
an
on those-
interesting weakness because it's actually better on guys that it doesn't kill,
Right.
as opposed to like every other weakness, which is just like, well, what's the biggest thing I can kill with this? Put it over there, like. So.
It
It's a
kind of
cool card.
reminds me of Pillory of the Sleepless a little bit. That's the card that went off
Yeah, okay.
first in my head when I saw it, but it doesn't have the same. It's not the same, obviously, because that's a pacifism, and then they take 1. But you can effectively kill their guy or like make like their 2/3 and 0/1, and then have them deal 2 every turn. So it's not as. I don't think it's as in your face good as Pillory, but it's a little bit more versatile, maybe.
Yep.
I get confused by Pillory because I cast that card outside of Limited a couple times, so it's
Wait,
tough
a
for me.
couple?
I
Cast
didn't.
that card outside of Limited a hell of a lot of times.
Well, I didn't play it.
You and your Tallowisp.
I didn't play it quite as much as you did, but I did play it a couple times.
Fetch it off the Shining Shoal, man.
Yeah.
Pitches to Shining Shoal or Sickening Shoal for 3.
Shining
Good
Fish,
card.
Sick Fish.
You're right, boys. It sure does.
Accurate.
It sure does.
Alright. I don't think we have anything further about Return to Ravnica pre-releases, unless anyone has anything excessively sweet that happened. No.
Well, what direction are we going in next? So I know what questions to ask.
I thought we were gonna touch briefly on the cube tickets and then perhaps head to exciting questions after that?
Oh, okay, then I have a Return to Ravnica question to ask.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
I like to ask this question every pre-release or when you're first starting to play the set. Is there any card that was like way better than you thought it was going to be, or way worse than like it looks?
I had two that seemed like really good that I didn't expect. I already kind of talked about like counterspells seeming like pretty good, but Dispel was like an all-star for me. I think I would probably want one Dispel in any deck that like could play a Dispel legally. So I really liked that one. And I think Volatile Rig, which I initially looked at and thought was like a piece of garbage, is actually pretty good and will win you a lot of games because your opponents will also assume it is bad or not understand what they should be doing against it. Like, I did my first 3v3. For those not aware, Volatile Rig is a 4/4 trampling artifact that attacks every turn if able. When something deals damage to it, you flip a coin. If you lose the flip, it dies. And whenever it dies, you flip a coin. If you lose that flip, it deals 4 damage to everything, including players. So 4 damage kills most creatures in the format at that level. Like, you have to go pretty high in casting costs to get any bigger than that. But there are actually like a lot of ways to make it tough to kill that guy in combat, which is the tempting thing to do, like try and get a small creature in front of it so that you extract value on the 50% death. But like it has trample, so it runs over small creatures if they lose the coin flip. So that in and of itself is like not that great a proposition. And then there are tricks like the +1/+0 first strike lifelink in white, the neg4 nego for a single blue mana in blue. Cards like that just make blocking in that way like really bad, and the card's just very aggressively costed for its size otherwise. Like, it's going to shut down combat the turn you play it the vast majority of the time, and it makes it really difficult for your opponent to commit cards to the board. And the best part about it all is that the reason it's so hard is because you literally don't know what's going to happen. You literally don't know. It is a coin flip. Like, even I don't know. I'm just sitting here playing with my Volatile Rig, and you have to make your decisions based on, you know, the potential outcomes versus having any idea what the actual ramification of your decision will 100% concrete be. So I think the card's pretty difficult to evaluate at first, but is actually like a pretty reasonable spell.
It seems like it's a lot of fun because it's very easy to play as the person who's playing it, and like very difficult to play as the other guy.
Yeah.
So you're just like, here it is, it's coming, have fun. Like,
yeah, you figure it out.
Yeah, that card was nice. I believe the card I was describing was Swift Justice, the +1/+0 lifelinker. Someone in the chat asked. Yeah.
Yeah, that looked good. I don't really have any specific cards because I almost literally only played with rares against rares all day. Like, the entire goal of my deck was, I hope I can get to my rares. So it was just like, oh god, please don't play Grizzly Bears, and then they wouldn't, and I'd be like, have you met this rare? And then they would die, or something like that. So I don't really have. I mean, I had a Selesnya charm, and it was like completely absurd and just killed like all sorts of things. But it should be like very evident to people that that card was very good. So I don't think I'm imparting any knowledge to you. The only mode I used it in, which was a little bit surprising to me, was the Radiance Judgment mode or whatever, the one where you get a thing with Power 5 or greater. I just got all the things. Like, some dude was scavenging up his Lotleth troll. He was like, he's getting very big, and I was like, well, he's getting very out. And he also, like, he killed that stupid 4-mana 6/6 demon thing that punches you, and like you can sack a guy, and he got out too. So yeah, I mean, that card was very good for me, but that card is probably going to be very good for everyone, so I don't think I'm giving you any secrets here.
Well, unless it's like obviously good, then you can assume that I'm just like a doofus. Like, I'm very, very bad at evaluating cards without playing with them. So like, I know that like the 1 green-white centaur who's a 3/3 and gains 3 life, like, yeah, that card's good. Like, I know that. But like, if there's like a card with like a bunch of text, or, you know, like these overload cards, like, I don't know, like, are they good if you don't overload them? Are they only good if you? I don't know anything unless I actually play with them. So
well,
that's why I asked.
This leads to like a completely ridiculous question. I heard from a friend of a friend that at the pre-release, Conjured Currency was actually good because you just like took their pre-release rare and killed them, which sounds like very unreasonable to me. Sorry, Conjured Currency is a 6-mana blue enchantment that like very slowly confusion in the ranks.
Oh no, that card's really bad because it's optional.
It's optional?
Yeah, like my opponent played it, and then he took my like 2/1 flyer, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep this, and you can have that 2/1 flyer that you paid 6 mana to take, and if you ever play anything good, I'm gonna take it.
Okay. All right.
So
Good. I'm glad we can put that rumor to rest.
it's
Ooh,
like
it's
a
a-
confiscate with delay that gives your opponent a confiscate at will. Or sorry, it's like
All right.
suspend 1 confiscate, but your opponent gets a confiscate at will later in the game.
Well, I'm a little sad that that terrible card did not, in fact, turn out to be good at the pre-release. But
If you don't know it's optional, it's probably like quite fine. But if you do know it's optional, then it's really awkward because your opponent just got a free confiscate.
did you have any sweet instances before we move on from the pre-release of like people doing things with their spells that they very like clearly didn't do, or things like, I guess you talked about the populate thing. Like I had one opponent just give me a sorcery in combat. He was like, do this. He
Yeah.
cast the 6 mana. Sorry, it's like 4 black green. Target creature gets +3/+3. Target creature gets -3/-3. The big consume strength during combat. And I was like, yeah, that would be a lot better, but it doesn't do that. So would you like to like go back to your first main and do this differently? Like,
I do have a good one actually. My opponent blocked with an Azorius Guild Mage a flyer, and like made 2 blocks. I didn't realize it was not a fly. He blocked a flyer with one of his 2/2s, and then another guy with another one of his 2/2s. I didn't realize it at first, and so I was like, okay. And then like as I go to record his damage, I realized that he thinks he's blocking, and I'm like, oh no, that guy's a flyer. You can't do that. And he's like, oh, well, I'll reblock then. And I'm like, okay. So he reblocks, and then after he reblocks, like changes things around. He, while a creature is still blocking to trade, plays Druid's Deliverance
yeah.
to prevent combat damage to himself, but it doesn't prevent it to creatures. It only prevents it to the player. But like, he still made the block, and his guy just like died for no reason basically. And I was really confused because I was making sure like he put the guy in the graveyard, and I was like, oh no, like you fogged. And he's like, oh no, it's only me. And then I'm just even more confused as to why that creature died at all.
But did he populate?
Yeah. I think that card's good, by the way. That fog. I think it's like pretty good. Fogs are generally like not that great unless you get some good like good combat value out of it. But because that one can actually like create a 3/3 and it's like at realistically like the best you're doing, it's probably pretty good.
All right.
Yeah, I had a fun time on my pre-release. I actually felt really bad because I realized I let someone cheat in round 5 against me. They cheated in like a really terrible way, but like it shouldn't have been legal, their terrible play, so they should have been forced to do something better. I let them electrickery their own guy. Like, it was a Slither Muse or whatever that thing's called, the 1/1 for 1 that like scavenges, and then he went all in on his Vault Scourge, and it turns out the plan where you put 3 cards on a Vault Scourge is not a good plan. But yeah, it shouldn't have been legal, man. I should have been like, no, that play is too bad. You can't make that play. Make another play, friend.
All right, I think that's all the Return to Ravnica questions I have. I'm gonna play. Man, like San Jose is in 2 weeks, so yeah. I'm gonna play. I think it gets released this Friday, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how it works. Yeah, I'm gonna play like this weekend or something because I don't think there's any online PTQs or anything. So
it hits Moto as a pre-release this weekend as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought it was.
This is on Moto this weekend, and then next week is the Moto actual release or something like that.
I think
So we had to draft with no prize support for 20 tickets?
I could be off by a week on that.
Yeah, I think it's the 13th that the article said for the pre-releases,
I might be off by a week.
But I could be wrong. I read that article. I know I was looking at that because you have to buy a $5 token in the Moto store to play in the Moto pre-release events, which is like something I'm fairly interested in talking about on our show before that goes live, but I think that's not happening before our next show. So
we'll save that for next week.
Yeah, I think you guys have to wait before you hear our exciting opinions on that one.
Sorry to get you guys all excited.
Did somebody say?
Don't show your credit card.
Did somebody say $20 drafts?
You seriously? You're seriously just like? Did somebody say my credit card number on a webcast?
I would do $20 drafts on Moto with no support. Where do I sign up?
Oh, Cedric, you are a character.
There's no money on
I'm
here
drafting
anyway.
as soon as we get done here. So
Steal my card. There's no money on here.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is in fact drafting, but related to the cube drafting. I want to talk a little bit briefly about cube tickets because that has come up a little bit. That is the new system of prize support for cube draft, which has gone live this cube section. Last cube section it was OLS packs, which were worth, I believe, less than 2 tickets a set by the end of the cube session.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you fine gentlemen think about the cube ticket? Is that an improvement? Are we headed in the right direction? Are we headed in the wrong direction? Do you want to rape, pillage, and murder across the countryside because of them? We will start with Cedric because Cedric wasn't here.
So my friends and I call the moto tickets food stamps.
Mhm.
The cube tickets, excuse me. I don't know. They're fine, I guess. I don't understand why they're not tradable.
yeah,
That doesn't make any sense to me. And when asked why they weren't tradable, Wizards would not respond to the question. They were just like, "What are you talking about? Just shut up and cube, man."
What do you mean they are tradable? I don't understand.
Yeah, I want. Like, one of my friends posted on Wizards Employees Wall on Facebook and was like, "Hey, why are these tradable?" And then the comment was just deleted. It's like, what? I don't think this is a crazy question. I just
Nope.
want to know why.
same.
Hey, I got
I'm
some.
even willing to believe that there's like a good reason for it. Like I'm not, like I don't think it's impossible that there's a good reason. Like I just don't know what it is, and nobody's told me or like shown an inclination to tell me. So it just sounds ridiculous to me. I just find
Yeah.
myself wondering why something that seems like it should be reality isn't reality.
I got.
And that's all I got.
What if I just want to give my friend some cube tickets so he can play? I just can't do that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that sorry is the best answer, I guess.
I got some tickets, but they seem to be sort of moldy, and I can't trade them. They're a little off in color. I don't know if you guys have had reports of this before.
Yeah, I have these things. They don't really do anything. Once the cube's down, you're just gonna look at them. You're just like, oh, these are nice. Like, are they gonna work for the next cube? No one knows. Are they gonna be are they gonna be a novelty item that you just can't trade? Like, if you have them on your account you just used to play back in the day.
Yeah. Would you like?
How does this work?
Would you like some more war marks for your account?
Yeah. How do these things
I've
work?
actually, I've said before, like one of the biggest reasons I started my new Moto account, not just to get Secluded Glenn, because it's my Twitter handle and my Moto account, but it's to get war marks off of my binder, because I hated seeing them so much.
Yeah, just cards that are untradeable.
Yeah,
it's very tilted. I think it's a fine direction as long as they know what they're doing. Like as long as they have like a plan in place to do something with them, which isn't a guarantee, which is a scary thing to say.
I mean,
but I think it's fine, I guess, because the other like what they were doing before was just destroying the economy, and they can't have it be the current set because then it destroys the economy even worse. So I guess this is a step in the right direction, even though I think it was handled poorly.
Sure,
is what I would say.
I agree with that assessment.
Steven, how do you feel about moldy tickets?
Moldy tickets. I agree this is a step in the right direction. Like, containing cube draft within itself is sort of a good thing to do. And so it's nice that you're getting a few packs for the older sets where I think card availability is sort of an issue on Moto. And then they're trying to contain the cube drafts within themselves other than that. Making the tickets not tradable, I think, is fairly inexcusable. I don't understand why you would do that. And it's sort of offensive that you need to pay event tickets as well, even when you're using the cube tickets. But I do understand why they're doing that one. That's because they want to make money. It's also like, it's much more obvious that you're just setting money on fire to play a cube draft when the prizes are like the exact entry fee for the next cube draft, and there's less of them than you paid. Like, obviously that was the case beforehand, but it's just so much more obvious now.
Yep.
So I don't know. Overall, like, yes, they are taking my money when I play cube drafts, and I'm okay with that, but it's sort of unsettling how obvious they've made it.
All right.
I will say kudos to them on identifying like an early issue. Like one of the things that is kind of scary about cube tickets is that you could like, you know, wind up with 50 or something of them, and then all of a sudden cube changes. and you just lost all those tickets basically if they changed the way it works.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason that that could happen is that they fine-tuned either the cost or the prizes like of a cube draft itself. Like even if they kept cube tickets, like they wanted to change how many it costs to enter or how many you get for winning or whatever. But because they split up the denominations like pretty well, like the smaller the cube tickets are, the easier it is for them to tweak it without like losing a bunch of money on their end. So I like that aspect of it. Like they could have done it as like, it costs 4 cube tickets to enter and you win like, 4, get 2, get 1 or something. But then they can never lower the cost because you can't give out more prize. Like you can't just double the prize when the ticket's worth, like $1 or $2. But when it's only like, a quarter or 50 cents or something, it's not that big a deal.
Do you think there's someone out there who's collecting cube tickets? Like just
Yeah,
cubing
it's
and
me.
keeping them? It's you. You're the one with 50 cube tickets? Because I was trying to work
sure
out
there
how
is.
on earth anyone could get 50 cube tickets.
I mean, if you,
You
just
just
enter and win a
like
bunch,
30-0, I guess.
I don't know. I was at a
you can't
physical.
get rid of them if you win, right? Like you can't sell them. So like, literally, I think I have like 30 right now. I don't know. Like I can't do anything with them, so I'm just gonna keep accumulating them until I get bored. Like
Yeah.
Is this
Those war marks.
hashtag humble brag? Is that where we?
that's
Also
not that
good.
many. Like that's like 4 wins or something. I don't know.
Don't you only get 12 for winning?
Yeah, I
Yeah?
thought you only got 12 for winning.
So you
which
get
is far
2
more than entry.
That's
per win.
48 or something. Oh well, I entered
No,
my
it's
first one
only
off of
8.
actual tickets, so that one doesn't. So that was a net gain.
Okay, but it's still a
I
net.
admit to not keeping track. I know that there's definitely a number of them on my account, and I am
I'm-
slightly scared that they will never be worth anything. But
I'm just saying, if you enter for actual tickets and only use cube tickets every time thereafter, to get to 48, you need to win like 20 drafts in a row or something like that. Like you get 2 per draft because it's 10 to enter and 12 when you win. So.
It's 8 plus 2 event tickets to enter.
Oh, it's 8?
only 8.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you get
'Cause
4.
there's 2
All right,
event
all right.
tickets.
That's better.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
you have
it's
to,
only
you have
like
to
10.
use the event tickets. You must
I haven't
incinerate
done
your
the
real
math.
money.
I just assumed that it's bad, and I just clicked the
Oh yeah,
buttons.
I mean it's bad.
So
Like this entire discussion is with the understanding that like we will do it anyway, because
Okay.
like we're very
Oh.
stupid.
Absolutely.
But it's just an interesting theoretical discussion.
right.
All right.
Theoretically.
Yeah. So let's move on to the last stanzas of our show, since there isn't a huge amount to talk about this week. So in this last segment, I'm going to ask questions of the cast members, and we will also, I think, accept some questions from the chat. You can feel free to put questions in the chat, and if they are awesome, we will use them. If, however, they are not awesome, no promises. That's what you get. So good work, team. Attempt to question away. Anyway, the first question we're going to start off with here is a pretty general one. I am going to ask you, gentlemen, and we will go left to right in my Skype call, so it's going to be Stephen, Glenn, Cedric on this question. What is your favorite game? And this is including all games. I think there are a lot of ways to go with this, so I'm interested to hear your answer. Stephen, you get to go first.
I have like a couple of answers. My first answer is cricket, and I don't know if that's allowed because it's sort of a sport, but cricket is also sort of not a sport.
I will, as the independent judging panel, I will allow it.
Okay, so the reason I like cricket is that in most sport you have this like random number generator just making a game where a bunch of stuff happens and it's mostly random, and then these commentators are meant to like make a narrative about it. But in cricket, they play for 5 days in a row, 8 hours a day, and that shit starts to actually be statistically significant. Plus, you get to sit outside and drink for 5 days watching. And that to me is like the ultimate experience. Just like outside on a grass bank, drinking with friends, watching 5 days of random numbers be generated. I'm not an American, by the way. Go New Zealand. The other answer is Puerto Rico, which I think is the best board game, just straight up. I love that game. It's a board game for 3 to 5 players, which somehow manages to almost have no randomness despite extreme complexity. And I just think it's the best.
All right, Glenn. Why don't you tell us what your favorite game is?
I had to
That's
unmute
why.
myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry
We
about
found
that.
out why.
Yeah. So I like games where you like basically have a lot of options with pretty simple play. Two of my favorites are Carcassonne and Go, which like the actual functionality of each game is very simple. You pick up a piece and play it. In the case of Go, every single piece is identical. In the case of Carcassonne, you pick up a piece at random that has varying edges that decides where you can place it on the board. But the board's different every time. Like the pieces build the board, which is what I like about each of the games because they're very simple to teach and play. Well, simple to like take the actions of playing, I should say. But you get relentlessly unique and complex games like every time because everything always happens differently. So that's really cool. I think that that's one of the most interesting aspects of those games. I've tried to design like similar games in my head, and it's very hard. So I respect the people who built them. Another similar game is Acquire, which kind of mixes in like a market evaluation thing with stocks. So those are three games I heartily recommend. Although Acquire feels like really solvable, and most of us have stopped playing it because we feel like we either like are at a huge disadvantage against one of the people playing because they're a lot better, or it's just like a complicated math problem, so we probably shouldn't play it.
Alrighty. That's fair. I'll follow up. I don't know if you want to like run now. I know that Glenn needs to make his escape here.
Glenn
Do
has to
you,
leave
We
us?
just
well,
No.
okay. All right.
we
All right,
just
Seth.
got an echo. Is that
Yeah.
just for me?
I don't know.
I don't
We
know.
all have an echo. It's gone now.
Sounds good.
Oh, okay.
Fixed it.
All right, Seth. You're up.
All right, I have a lot of favorite games.
Well,
Basketball, quite the game. Big fan of the game. Wrestling, both professional and non-professional. Are those games? They feel like games. They feel like
Wrestling's
games.
like definitely not a sport, possibly not a game either.
Okay, well, like non-professional wrestling, like Olympic wrestling. I wrestled in high school. I
Okay,
wrestled
like real
for
wrestling, for sure.
yeah, like real wrestling. I feel like is kind of a game. It's a game of humiliation to me, mostly. Which
Well
is why I
put.
like it a lot. Because you get to wrestle against someone for 6 minutes in front of their family and beat the shit out of them, or in turn they beat the shit out of you. But either way, it's a game of humiliation, and you're also in spandex, so it's humiliating for you as well. So that game is fun. My favorite video game is probably Uncharted 2. I think that game is as close to perfect of a like third-person shooting game as there can be. So that's like my favorite like shooting video game, and then my favorite RPG is fucking Final Fantasy IX. So I think that that's a good game too. And then Magic is fine, but whatever.
Magic's okay, right?
Magic is fine. I'm trying to think of any other games that I like. I've never played Ascension, but I heard that game's sweet. I feel like I should have played that. I feel like I should have played that by now. I heard that game's really good.
Yeah, I have some answers, but I don't really want to answer my own questions. It feels tacky. So we're gonna rebuy, I think, on this one. I noticed that only Cedric actually directly mentioned Magic, so I'm interested to hear like why you prefer the game you listed and how it compares to Magic for you, because obviously we all have played a fair bit of Magic and have a level of interest in it. So I'm interested to hear you compare and contrast. So we'll go back in the same order. Steven, you can lead.
Yeah, so for me, Magic, the thing that the two things I mentioned, Cricket and Puerto Rico, have that Magic lacks the most is consistent, meaningful occurrences. I feel a lot of the time in Magic, I'm spending my time shuffling, I'm spending my time doing fairly automatic actions, which are very unlikely to change the outcome of the game. And at the end of the game, there's no way to measure how close I was to winning, if that makes sense. Like sometimes you're like, oh, I got him to 2 life, I was so close, and you get an idea. But a lot of the time, you don't really know. Like it's clear to you that you won or lost, but you don't know how far away you were. It's not a game that plays very well with that. Whereas with cricket and Puerto Rico both, just about everything you do, like at any moment, has the very strong potential to influence the outcome of the game. And at the end of the game, the score very clearly shows how far you were from winning or how easily you won. So that keeps you engaged the entire way through, because even if you're losing, you can still like, well, can I get to a point where I lose by less? And that's meaningful and still fun.
All right. So you're talking about how Magic is a game of binary winning and not winning, as opposed
Yeah,
to.
I think that's. Yes, I will say that that's a problem with Magic, as it is with like Risk and Monopoly and a lot of older games that were popular and then people worked out their terrible games.
Interesting. All right, Glenn, you get to go.
I think like the aspect of Go and Carcassonne that I like that I mirror like the most in my Magic play is locking the opponent out of favorable options, like where all of their decisions will lead to them still losing the game, basically, like trying to achieve certainty. It's a lot. I'm not sure which game it's actually easier in. Probably for someone who's actually good at Go, it's probably easier to achieve certainty in Go, because that game's incredibly hard, and if you're better than your opponent, you're probably just gonna like crush them. And I'm very bad, so I get crushed a lot, but it's still like pretty interesting to play and like going over the games to figure out like where I died, which is usually like circa 25% in to the game or something like that. One of the most amusing parts of Go actually is that like most of the games don't get played to completion because it becomes very apparent who's going to win like 30 moves down the line, so you just stop. Like, you're not going to punt, and I'm really dead, so I might as well just quit. But I think that that's probably the thing I like the most is the certainty. Carcassonne's fun because it adds like a little bit of variance into the game. So the games are always pretty consistently different, and you get options. Carcassonne also like directly rewards outplaying your opponent, like really obviously when you lock out their ability to play. Like literally, they can draw pieces that like are unfavorable or they can't use for any gain at all. And it's like, oh, that's because like all of your people can't move and like you're not getting any points and I stole all of these things, so you don't have relevant turns anymore. Sorry. Like, so I like doing those things. Basically, I like having all of the fun in the game, taking all of it away from the opponent. 100% over here.
I was gonna say, from a design perspective, that sounds like something very likely to make your game unpopular with players.
It is. It is. Well, have you actually heard Glenn's theory of fun?
No, I haven't. Lay it down.
My theory of fun is that every game ever has a finite amount of fun in it. Like, there's only so much enjoyment that can be had while playing a game, like between the two people. So if you keep your opponent from playing, or otherwise give yourself more options and them less, then you are having more of that finite amount of fun. So the goal then is to have all of the fun and give your opponent none of it. That's actually how you win.
You're just trying to catch all the fun. You want to be the very best, like no one ever was?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
No,
Close.
exactly. You can't save yourself now. Exactly.
You're locked in.
Yeah, it's on videotape.
It is.
Exactly is what it is.
It is on videotape with Cedric's credit card.
Yeah.
So.
Gonna be looking at the other parts of that episode.
So.
Steal away.
So.
Steal away.
Cedric, tell us about how your choices relate to Magic.
So the games that I enjoy are like the direct opposite of Magic, I guess. Like with I don't really know how to explain this in words, so I don't know where I'm going to go with this, but like the games that I like to enjoy, like when I'm not playing Magic, are like video games that have a very clear finish to them, I guess. Like, you play through Uncharted or whatever, and there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. Whereas Magic, there really isn't an end. There's just like the next tournament, I suppose. So like when I'm taking a break from Magic, I like to play the things that have like, just like a very concrete end, like a completion, and then, I can move on and do something else, which I think is kind of nice. The same thing can kind of be said for like watching a basketball game and then just like watching it, taking it all and then just going on about my day. I like basketball. The game, like the sports that I enjoy, I like because there are a lot of intangibles that are thrown into them. So there are a lot of variables outside of the game, and that's kind of the reason I like Magic too, is because I like the variables in like the game inside of the game, like messing with your opponent and bluffing and all that stuff. So I like basketball has like a lot of intangibles outside of the game, outside of just, hey man, we're playing basketball, like stuff like that. So the video games I enjoy just because of like there's a beginning and an end. Like a game that I don't really enjoy very much, I guess, is like League of Legends because it just never ends, or like World of Warcraft is like a perfect example of a game that just doesn't ever stop. You just keep playing and leveling up your character. And I just like don't get the point of that. Like people just keep raiding and raiding and raiding, and like, do you ever really complete your goal in World of Warcraft? I say that from a standpoint of I don't play World of Warcraft, so I don't know. Do any of you guys?
I have played World of Warcraft a fair bit, and no, you just keep killing bigger boars for better pants.
Okay, that's all that happens, right? Like you just keep going, and it's no one's
That
ever
is,
just like,
in a nutshell, yes, all that happens.
yeah, you just like I don't like, to me I don't understand why that's fun. I guess. I don't understand why that's like an enjoyable experience, but I guess some people enjoy that, so I don't know. But yeah, I think that answers the question sort of ish.
Yeah, sort of. I'm gonna sort of rebuy. I think one of these questions we're gonna go slightly out of order, but I think that leads well into my question of how much fun do you have playing Magic now versus how much fun you had when you originally started playing the game? Because I think each of you individually mentioned like what you find fun about the other game versus what you find fun in Magic. So let's go. Do you want to go the same way or backwards? What do you guys think?
Same way.
All right.
I can think of an answer.
No
Same way.
answer. All right, tough but fair. Steven, you get to lead.
You're just going to me first every time.
Yeah.
So the
taste it.
question is, how much fun do I have playing Magic now versus like when did I have the most fun playing Magic?
Yeah, like, do you think there's a variable amount of fun? Do you have the same amount of fun that you have now as when you first started playing the game and you were like, this is awesome, I want to know more?
Right. I don't want to sound too like saddening or anything, but Magic is not a game that I play for fun. And when I have fun playing Magic, it's because of the friends and the like outside involvement away from the actual table. But Magic for me is very much like a puzzle. It's like sitting at a table doing a jigsaw puzzle. Is that for fun? Not exactly. It's like relaxing. It's interesting and challenging. So for me, the most fun by far that I've had playing Magic was when I was a member of the clan Kimbroji, and we were building techs for Pro Tours and working on all this tech together, and we had a private forum, and we're talking about all the stuff and everything. That's a lot of fun. But actually sitting at the table playing a game of Magic against an opponent, unless I know the guy and we're joking about and stuff, because that's great, sure. But if it's a stranger, I wouldn't say that Magic the game is that much fun to me. It's more of a puzzle and a challenge. And that's definitely, like, I used to have more fun playing Magic because of the social aspect that I had going on outside. And I'd say that most of the fun I get out of Magic nowadays is from, like, streaming and interacting with people in chat or doing this show and interacting with you guys. That's definitely the fun part for me.
Alrighty. That's fair. I will accept that. Glenn?
Yeah. I think I used to enjoy Magic very differently. I think I can define when it changed each time because like they're usually punctuated by like points where I quit and then eventually came back. Like I quit right after Lorwyn came out, which was, or I should say right after Morningtide came out, I think, which was right after I'd gone to my first Grand Prix, the Lorwyn Grand Prix at Daytona Beach. And it was like kind of fun. I made day 2 and it was my first one, but then I got like dead last in day 2. For like the money, but nothing else, obviously. I just won 5, and I played like not great, and I played against better people, and it was not a very happy experience because like I'm very, I'm personally prideful. I try and get better, and like that day I played like I represented myself poorly, like even as bad as I was and am. Like at that time I was just playing worse than I was capable of by a lot. So it was frustrating, and I also didn't really like the Shadowmoor set, so I just kind of like, I got rid of it there. And I think that then one of the reasons it wasn't fun was I wasn't hanging out with a peer group that played a lot. When I eventually started playing again, it was with Shards when like a new game store opened and someone convinced me to play, and I immediately like just got right back in, like played a PTQ like, I don't know, a month after like starting playing again and won it and just felt awesome. And that pretty much, fueled me for like a year just on we took a break and we're good now. But obviously not the case. So anyway, I think that like it really is just very much tied into how I feel about my own individual play. Like that is what keeps me going, which is obviously like pretty different from the community. I love the community, obviously. Like I consider myself a member in good standing, and I like hanging out with everyone at the tournaments. I get to know a ton of people, courtesy of my work with SEG, which is one of the biggest perks of my job by far. Are the friends that I've made in like random cities. So I always get to see somebody I know, like regardless of which corner of the tournament room I walk to at like one of the big ones, like Grand Prix or Gen Con or things like that, which is really awesome. But Magic itself, I'm really just wrapped up in feeling like I did like a good job after playing a game. Like today, I know I was talking about you guys before the show, and I like 4-0, 8-0'd, I think, a daily, and I was just like, oh, that felt awesome. Like, what a great way to, get pumped for the show. I'm in a good mood now. I'm
That's
gonna go
why
get
you're
some
being so up this episode. It all makes sense.
So like that's very much a huge aspect of how I can have fun playing Magic. Like when I am either playing very poorly or running really bad, both of those have like the same outcome generally, which is like me losing matches, which I don't find fun at all. So that's kind of where I sit with that.
All right, are you ready, Cedric? Do I need to stall?
I actually was ready before.
All right.
Because I remember what answer I wanted to say. So it's weird. The game is I've been playing competitive Magic since I was 16, and I'm 26 now. So when I first started playing, it was obviously in the basement with my best friend in Ohio. We couldn't attack each other for an hour. We were just that was the rule. We used to play a 3-way game.
You played 1 hour no rush Magic?
Yeah, we played it was me. It was me, my best friend John, and my other friend Mike. And there was no attacking for an hour. So we all just set up for an
hour.
I don't know, man. I was like 12, okay? But there was no attacking for an hour, and we just set up everything, and then after the hour strike, then you got to start attacking people. And I was the person who had counter spells and like fork and stuff, so if I ever countered someone's spell, I was going to be the first one to be attacked, stuff like that. So like that was kind of fun or whatever. And then I found out about tournaments, and then I started playing in tournaments, and you play in tournaments, you want to win in tournaments. So then you start wanting to win, and things change. And it's kind of hard to go back to, the no attacking for an hour when your opponent's playing Fire Blast in their deck. So that's a little bit different. Levels of fun evolve over time as you grow older. I couldn't do what I did when I was 12 now. I couldn't play a game where I don't attack for an hour. That wouldn't be fun to me. What was fun for me the thing that has remained constant from 16 when I first started playing Grand Prix to now is trying to prove to people that I'm actually pretty good at Magic is the thing that's the most fun for me at this point, and it always has been the most fun because you're just always going to have haters. So that's what?
I hope that you can. I hope that you're willing to accept like easy evidence on that, because that is a hard row to hoe, friend.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's very true. But no, I mean, there's always people who are going to think you're bad or whatever, and I always just, I like having a chip on my shoulder and having a reason to play. Like, if I was, like Luis or Paulo or whatever, and people just thought I was the best at Magic, I don't think it would be very fun for me anymore, because then I wouldn't have anything to prove. So, like, that's been the one constant from, like, when I've been 16 and, like, people at my local store hated me, to, like, when I moved to Purdue and there was people there who hated me, to, like, where I am now. Like, I think that's the most fun thing. But my favorite thing about playing Magic now, without a doubt, is when I play against someone in a match that matters a lot, and the person is very good. Like, both my matches playing for top 8 at the Invitational, for example, were two of the most fun matches I have played in so long. Just like every turn mattered. My opponent was fantastic. So, it's not like I'm, winning a match where my opponent just plays like horse shit and then it's not any fun. It's like my opponent is incredibly good. and everything that I do matters, everything that they do matters. There's tension, and there's something on the line. Like, when that stops being fun, that's when I won't play anymore. Like, when I don't feel something playing in those matches, that's not going to be any fun anymore. Like, that match against Ali, ugh. That was one of the most fun matches of Magic I've ever played. I didn't even win. And I threw away game 3 because he tricked me. Like, it was just amazing. It was just absolutely amazing. Glenn, you were watching the match between Costa and I when he was playing Delver. That match was fucking awesome for me to play. And
that match was fun for me to watch.
I wouldn't even have been mad if I lost to Matt, because Matt is so good, and like, I respect him so much as a player, and he was playing Delver, a deck that like I love to beat anyway. And so to play against like what is like the consensus one of the best Delver players and just have like an insane 3-game set against him, that's when it's fun. If I don't ever feel like if I'm not feeling anything when I'm playing that match, I'm just like, oh, whatever, yeah, you win, bye, have a good day. If I'm not feeling anything, then that's when I'm going to stop playing. But it hasn't gone away, so that's when I have my most fun.
Nice.
Alrighty, I have one more. There were a couple from the chat. I don't know if we're gonna have time for them. My favorite one thus far is, how has the hamburger affected your life?
Oh my god!
From the chat, so
Oh
you can
my
ruminate
God.
on that.
Can I go first?
Well, you wanna run on that one real quick? All right, we'll go backwards. Cedric, you start.
How has the hamburger affected my life?
Yeah.
Like, the food hamburger?
Yeah, the hamburger
Is the single greatest food in the world.
Okay.
Without question.
I would also accept the Hamburglar if you want to roll with that.
He hasn't had an effect on my life very much, unless he's the creator of the hamburger.
No, I don't
in which
think
case,
so.
I'd like to thank him.
He's just like that weird dude.
Right?
The weird dude with like the zebra suit from McDonald's. I think he may in fact be a giant hamburger. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I think so.
What?
To me, there is nothing better than
like round like a hamburger.
I think this is like a bold statement, but to me, I don't think there's much better than a very good hamburger. Honestly, like, I find steak to be overrated. I think pizza is very good, but if I had to choose between pizza or a hamburger, I would choose hamburger. And I think that, yes, having a very good hamburger is like a mind-blowing experience. It's unfortunate that it makes you fat, but that's life. And yeah, like, I don't eat, and let it be on the record, I don't eat like shitty hamburgers like McDonald's or fucking Wendy's is like fine or whatever. Like, I have like a hamburger chart in my head of like best to worst hamburger. But yes, hamburger is affected my life in a very positive way. And anyone who doesn't like a hamburger is stupid. There, I said it.
All right, tough but fair. Either of you guys have hamburger rejoinders?
I mean, like, I like hamburgers okay. I like to eat them when they're either like, I'm looking for my lowest common denominator food. Like, you know, I need that late night random thing that's like a dead animal and I want it. So I'll eat a hamburger then, or I'll eat like a really, really good one. But I'm not in the market for any in-between nonsense. Like, if I'm going to like Chili's or TGI Fridays or those kind of places, I'm not getting a hamburger there. It's just stupid, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
it's a complete waste of money and everything. If you get a hamburger at those places, you're a moron. For so many different reasons.
Steven, hamburger thoughts?
I'm just looking up the like etymology because that's
hamburger?
more interesting to me than the food, I guess. Yeah.
All right.
First created in America around 1890. Way to go, guys.
America! Fuck yeah!
So I prefer burritos. That's all I'm gonna say. I feel like fairly hostile audience for this opinion, and I'm gonna get out of that as quickly as possible.
All right. All right. The last one I have written down is, what is your ideal 7-card hand to start a game of Magic? Which I think is also a very open question, and there are multiple interpretations. We will start with Cedric this time. Cedric, ideal 7-carder.
Okay. All right, here we go. Windbrisk Heights, Gold Medal Stalwart, Knight of Meadowgrain, Spectral Procession, that's 4, Plains, and then Wizened Sen is the 7th one, because I know that I'm going to draw the 3rd land, because I have 25 land in my deck, so I don't need the 3rd one in my opener. Perfect.
All right. That's
My
pretty reasonable.
8-year-old brother said exactly the same thing.
It's gonna be so good.
Glenn, ideal 7.
Oh, mine would be, I guess, Empowered Cube, Mox Sapphire, Mishra's Factory, Standstill, and 4 other cards. Forcible blue card if I'm on the draw. Not if I'm on the play.
I would crush you.
If I'm on the play, I feel fine.
I would
draw. I want to.
crush you. In my hand.
Dude,
Oh my god.
what are you gonna do about Weizensen? You're just fucking stone
would-
dead.
Absolutely.
I guess we're
murder
going to
you.
the top, boys. We got 3 hits. Let's go.
I like your answer because it conforms so well with your theory of fun that you're like just factory mock standstill. You can't do anything. Go.
Interestingly, I did this to Adam Prozac at Gen Con in a 3v3 cube draft we did, and I lost that game.
Well, we probably had Weizensen or something. You were dead from the get-go. Like
he like resolved a birthing pod, and I drew like 16 lands or something, and I just died. Like,
Dead.
it was definitely funny.
all right, Steven. Ideal 7.
A Pockthorn Worm, Nourishing Shoal, Twin Cast, Island, Miko Koro, Howling Mine.
This is the worst hand.
Possibly Eye of Nowhere or Copy of the Waning Moon. Is that what that card was even called?
Yep. Cameo of the Waning Moon.
Present.
That's a tough call. Yeah.
I like my favorite part about this question is that I instantly knew which deck every single person was talking about. I was like, yep, okay.
I'm crying laughing. I'm actually crying. That's the worst hand I've ever heard. And it's a key
man.
for your neck. It's so bad.
Alright. I'm gonna give you my hand because I think my hand is like super obvious to anyone that knows me. My favorite hand is Mountain, Chrome Mox, Slith Firewalker, Magma Jet, Seething Song, Arc Slogger.
Yeah,
Big time.
I've lost
My
that
favorite actual historical hand was a Mull to 6, so I couldn't say it. But it was Chrome Mox, Slith Firewalker, 4 cards which didn't matter, and we just kept it said go on turn 1, drew the mountain turn 2, won the game.
I mean, you can't beat Big Slogs on turn 2. Like, he's here, and you're dead.
I did once keep a Mull to 5 that was double bounce land with no other land on the draw in the finals of a 1K in Florida. Promptly hit turn 1 Temple Garden and crushed the opponent.
Sure.
That's not
that was one of my favorites.
If you get to select your opening 7 exactly, you can just play 250 cards in your library too, which makes Arc Slaughter pretty sweet.
That's true.
No, you don't need that shit, man. You can have like 20 cards in your library. Arc Slogger will still beat your ass.
All right.
Have you ever done the
Fair
turn 1 Arc Slogger? That's significantly more adventurous.
You've
I
done that?
have turn 1
Yeah,
Slaughter,
I think I did it
Adam and I
once
both
against
played
Rats,
the
and he just like terrored me, and I was like, well, I'm dead. Like,
Then you win anyway. You like draw 3 shrapnel blasts, and they heal themselves 5 somehow. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's not okay.
it's definitely okay.
No. I'm not okay with these things.
I like that hand question. I thought that hand question went very well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and my favorite part about that hand question was that none of our hands were like unreasonably good. Like Glenn's hand was somewhat unreasonably good, but the other 3 were just like fairly bad.
Yeah, mine's like not keepable in any format.
Yours is like some Howling Mines, and mine is like a hand that was reasonably good in Standard, and Sed's was like a very good block hand.
Whoa. Hold on a minute. Hold on just a second, sir. That was a Pro Tour Kyoto top 8 opening hand, is what that was. That was a standard deck, mister. All right, I demand an apology for that.
Alright, I'm sorry. There were 2
Thank
blocks
you.
worth of Kithkin
Thank
involved.
Thank you very
That was
much.
the Pro Tour where Cedric and I met, actually.
You beat me in a money draft, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I remember that money draft for 2 reasons, Glenn. It was you, Julian, and David Irvine.
Sounds likely.
That's correct. I remember this for 2 very distinct reasons. It's a good story. I won't make it too long. Number one, I started off 5-0-0-2 in that PT. I was very mad. I wanted to money draft someone. Julian is a shit talker, so he tricked me into money drafting him because I was mad. Then, after he beat me in our match, he slapped me in the face. And he didn't even know me that well. And he just slapped me.
Dude, we're realistic in Florida. We're straight up.
I was so taken aback. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to attack him, but he's like a child, so I couldn't do that. And we're in Japan, so that just set me on further tilt. So, I mean, we lost this draft so easily. And then, after Derv beat me to like win the draft for you guys, I didn't have any money. So I was like, hey, Derv, I'll pay you tomorrow or I'll pay you double if I top 8. And he's just like, okay. And then I had to pay him double. And he was the first person to come up to me after he found out that I could draw in.
That's awesome.
I don't know why I offered him double. I mean, the slap, I think, is why. It put me all the way over.
Just knocked all the sense out of you.
Yeah. There was no reason for that slap.
Is that like more or less offensive than offering the handshake?
There was no reason. He like killed me with a burn spell and then slapped me in the face. For no reason.
I think the reason Steven brought that up is I was talking to him before the show and I mentioned that my round 1 opponent in the pre-release, after completely destroying me with overloaded Mizium mortars both games, offered me the hand after he like obliterated me. He was like, good game. And I just like had no idea how to respond to that. Like after getting destroyed in round 1 of a pre-release, I was like, okay, like
At least
good
if you
game.
get slapped, like you don't need to respond. You have just been slapped. That's all you have to do. If someone offers you the hand, you're like going to offend them unless you do the right thing.
All right, I wanna shut it down soon. How do you guys feel before we leave about leaving your opponent hand extended, standing over the table? I have only ever seen one person do that in real life, but
The real life disconnect.
Would you like to guess who it was?
Okay, is it someone from Canada?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Maybe it's a polite.
No, it is an American. I will give you that for free.
Okay, I have my guess. I'll let the other two.
There's no way that we cannot offend anybody by guessing this.
Oh,
I have my guess. It will not offend the person.
All right.
Sure.
Is it Ben Ashman?
that is a good guess. It was not Ben Ashman.
Oh!
Are you like sure?
But that was a really good guess.
Okay.
I've seen a former national champion deny the handshake multiple times, so.
Who is that your guess? Are you going to finalize?
I don't want to either. I don't
You
want to
don't
say
wanna-
who that is either. I was just
Okay.
throwing it out there. So if your person is a national champion, we might have the same person.
I don't honestly know. It's possible. I don't think it's true, or I don't think he is, but it's possible. He's like he's won things. He's good.
Okay.
Steven,
Can you name this- are
yeah,
you
oh
gonna
yeah,
name this person?
absolutely. I'm not afraid. I mean, I don't think
Okay.
he'd be mad.
Okay.
Maybe he would be mad. I came up to him at the last GP in Toronto, and I was like, "Does your deck even cast spells?" Because I think he like didn't have any lands, or he had like 18 lands in play, and his opponent was clearly an idiot and was just murdering him. And I think he was like somewhat angry, but no, it was
All right, just name
it was Adam Yurchik was the only person that I've ever seen do
yeah,
that.
that's in his range.
Yeah, I think it's like
Alright.
very within his range.
Yeah. Big Adam fan too.
All right, so let's. Oh yeah, I mean he's insane at Magic. He's like very good.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get the heck out. I will give you guys the opportunity to do the shoutouts. Let us start with Steven, since we've been starting with Steven all night. Steven, you get to do the first
Great.
shoutouts.
That's awesome. I would love to start again. Thanks for watching the show, guys. If you're interested in tuning into my stream, I got a subscriber randomly during the show. I have been streaming at like 2 a.m. with alcohol doing cube drafts lately. So who knows? If you're up at 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you might see me around. Otherwise, like, thanks for tuning in. I enjoyed doing the show. Next week, it's going to be fun because we'll actually have Magic to talk about. But I think overall, the show was pretty enjoyable. Pretty enjoyable for not having Magic to talk about, right?
All right, Glenn, you can go. You might be able to like fold your greater ceremony into your shoutouts if you want. Anyway, I leave that up to you. Glenn, you're up.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm going to be in Cincinnati for the first open series of our new standard format, which should be good times. I don't know who's commentating because I don't really keep track of that well. So.
Can we?
Matthias Hunt and Zach Hall.
Oh, there you go. Cedric's got us. So yeah, I'll be there with Matthias and Zach Hall apparently, and it'll be RTR and it'll be lots of fun. So you should tune in. We'll try and see like lots of cool new decks on SCG Live. Other than that, I was planning to try and start streaming this week, but personal and professional complications appear like they are going to get in the way of that. Plus, I'm a little sick, so I'm not feeling that into it. So I'll be trying to get that underway relatively soon, but otherwise, I'll just be working as usual.
Wah, wah. All right, are you done? Shall we move along?
Yeah, I'm all good.
All right, Sed. Rock on.
Okay. Thanks for watching. Obviously, sorry about the fog machine in my room, since you can't see me. I'm going to be streaming after this with MJ, testing Modern. I think it's going to be a Jund versus Scape Shift kind of night, which is no fun for either side, but we got to do it to get ready for the PT. I have an article coming out on Wednesday. It's going to be about, it's my article that I do when each set comes out about what I think are going to be the best cards in each color. So that's going to be coming out. Streaming all week Modern, still testing for the PT. Anything else? Anything else? I think that's it. I got a speeding ticket on the way here because I drove fast. So I hope it was worth it. And if it wasn't, oh well. I thank you guys for watching. I love doing this show with all of you guys and my 3 colleagues here. So that's it for me. Adam, wrap it up, baby.
Hey, thanks for watching. I just wanted to say that I was actually physically at a Magic event for like, well, that I was playing in for like the first time in 5 years or something like that on Saturday and Sunday, and that was a lot of fun, and I only got to do it because my individual viewers are awesome, so I just wanted to like thank them again for that. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys possibly during the week, but definitely next Monday. So see you guys later.
Bye.